Okay, so now I'm ready to assign some materials. I'm going to start with the basic Rhino material, and then we're going to explore the PBR, the physically based render material. And this is brand new in Rhino v7, like I mentioned earlier. And it allows you to create even more realistic looking materials using the PBR. But let's start with the Rhino basic material. It's exactly the same as in Rhino v6 or in v5. It's the same principle. So let's start with the seat rails on the floor. So I select these two objects, all right? And in the properties tab, you've got the object icon. Right next to it, you've got the material. So you click on it and you've got the use material menu, and you just unscroll this menu. What you see here, top view, side view, and front view, these are the background images that we've applied earlier in the tutorial. And all the geometries that you see here are assigned the default material. There's nothing special to it. It's just a simple light gray or white material with no reflection or refraction or anything like that. So in order to create a new material, you click on the plus sign where it says use a new material. So I'm going to click on that, and you can create materials in different ways. You can customize your own material. So most of the time I like to use the custom material. Emission means that if you want to create a light source, so you click on emission to make a light source. Gem is more for people who are dealing with diamond properties, you know, with people who are into design, jewelry design, I mean. Glass material, that's pretty self-explanatory. You've got the metal, you've got the paint. Paint is with a nice clear coat on top of it, so that's pretty neat also. Here's the physically based material that I was telling you about. That's brand new in Rhino v7, so it's called a PBR, physically based render material. Pictures, that's for the background images basically. You've got the basic plaster and plastic. Okay, these are the different kinds of materials. These are preset materials. So for example, I select these two seat rails and I'm going to click on metal. So now you can see that the menu switched to the metal, and you can change the name. So in order not to get too many materials of the same repetitive name and avoid any confusion, I suggest that you rename your item. So you can call it metal, and I'm going to call this metal seat rail, for example. All right. In here, there's a color swatch if you want, but I don't think it works with the metallic properties. So if I switch to blue, for example, and let's try that and click OK. Oh yeah, okay. So you have a metallic blue basically. All right. So let me go back to this, but it doesn't look very realistic. So I'm just going to click on the color swatch and go back to white and just leave it like that. All right. But that's basically where you can change your color. Here you've got the polish. So that's pretty self-explanatory. Obviously, whatever is metallic, you want it to be as polished as you want. If it's rough, but it's a very, as you can see, there's hardly any reflections. Okay, so again, you have to select your materials and go back to the properties under the material menu, and then I can adjust the polish setting. All right, you've got the bump texture that if you want you can add. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave it at the basic metal material. If I want to create another material, for example, let's say I'm using this sub D and that sub D, and I'm going to group them also, by the way. So I select these two. Obviously you cannot join them. For joining, it's only surfaces that are touching one another. You use the join function, but to organize your geometries when you're about to render so that your selections are very easy to make, because you have so many geometries created. So I suggest that you start grouping them, organize them neatly. For example, the seat rail, I'm going to select these two. So I shift and left click to make multiple selection, and I just click on the group icon, which is here, group object, and I just left click. So that means when I select on one item, it's going to select everything that is being grouped together. All right. So I'm going to do the same for these legs, that sub D and that sub D, and I'm going to group them like that. And again, in the properties tab under the material icon, I've got here use layer material. So make sure that you select first your geometries, and you should see that menu appearing, and then you can click on the plus sign. And this time I want to make it plastic. So I'm going to click on plastic, and again, I'm going to call this plastic dark gray. So don't forget to rename it. Dark gray front legs, let's call it front legs, like that. Whoops. Plastic dark gray. Okay, I'm just going to leave it a plastic dark gray. And in the properties where it says color, I don't want it to be white. I'm going to make it a dark gray as stated, and I'm going to click OK. I'm going to deselect to see what it looks like. It's a bit too reflective. I don't know if you can see the reflection, but I find it to be a bit too reflective. So I'm just going to select my group, and where it says reflectivity here in the properties, I'm going to bring it down so it's set at 100%. I'm going to bring it down to about, let's say 23%, 25%. Maybe it's still a bit too much. 15%. Let's try 15%. All right. And if I select again my group, the transparency, so you can set the transparency if you want to make it semi opaque or whatever, but that's obviously not the case here. Clarity, this is a bit too polished, I find. So I can still bring this down and about midway, and there you go. I'm removing the glossiness basically of my grouped object, and I find that I prefer it like that. All right, so that looks good. And what else? Bump texture, again, I'm not going to touch that. So there you go. This is plastic dark gray for my front legs basically. For the front legs, I can make it metallic like I did for the seat grill, but this time I want to use a PBR material. I want to use the new materials that are introduced in Rhino v7. So again, it's the same thing. I'm just going to so make sure that you select your object that you want to apply the material. So I'm going to group the front legs like that, and I'm going to unscroll the menu where it says use layer material. So make sure that you select your group also, by the way, so that you can assign your material. And I'm going to click on the plus sign, and this time I'm going to go to physically based renderer. Now this physically based, again, I advise you to rename it. So I'm going to call it metal, metal front legs, I guess. Front legs. Okay, you see, I put too many words and it won't allow me to do that. So maybe I'm going to remove physically. I'm going to type PBR front legs, FR legs. So there's a certain limit of characters that you can put in. So I'm just going to keep it simple like that. PBR front legs like that. So base color. All right. So I'm going to click on the color swatch, and actually I'm going to leave it to white for now, but you can make it light gray if you wish. But let's start with white only. So I'm just going to click on cancel. Roughness. So if I click on metallic here, if I check metallic, you see already the immediate effect that it has. So there's my metallic. Roughness, if you bring down the roughness, that means you make it shinier. If you bring the roughness on the opposite at close to 100%, you make it less shiny. All right, so just pay attention to that. So I'm going to bring it down to about, I don't know, 10% to make it quite shiny, and there's my material. All right, and you can see the reflection of the HDRI on my metallic objects actually. So I've got this. You've got the opacity, so obviously if I bring this down, I make it, you know, semi-opaque or even like a sort of see-through, and we can see through it, you know, up to a certain point. So I'm just going to bring it back to 100%. IOR, that means the index of refraction. Okay, so if you want to create like a glass material and stuff like that, that's where you play with the index of refraction, but obviously I don't want to play with that. And then you've got here detailed settings. If I unscroll this menu, you've got different types of settings that you can add to your material. All right, you can add some clear coat, the anisotropies, specularity, and so on. So specularity, anisotropy is the highlight. Specularity, I think it's the glossiness. You've got the base color, metallic, for example here. And if I want to change the color, let's see what it does. You can see that it changes to the blue, metallic blue, a sort of metallic blue color. Actually, I'm going to do that. I'm going to make it metallic blue. So it's a sort of anodized aluminum. And I'm going to click OK on that. And there's the effect. All right. So I can do the same for the hind legs. And this time I'm not going to use the same material as the front legs. So I'm going to go and select them. I'm going to group them. And I'm going to go in the icon material. I'm going to expand the tool, the use layer material menu. And I'm going to click again on the plus sign. I'm going to go back to physically based. So I'm going to create a new material, PBR. So I'm going to call it PBR underscore hind underscore legs, like that. So PBR R for rear legs. You're limited by the number of characters, I remind you. All right, so now I'm going to select this base color. So I want to make it metallic. I want to keep the roughness at 20%, and there you go. All right, so that's my other metallic. And again, you can see the highlights are emphasized because of the fillets that were created and adds to the realism. Also, as a reminder, if I zoom in here, if I select my seat rail, where it says in the properties tab, I've got here the edge softening. Because this is turned on, you can see that it's rounding the corners. So I didn't apply a fillet, if you remember. I just switched on the edge softening for my seat rails. And if I turn it off, you can see that it's back to its original state, meaning the sharp edges. So you can also play with that, and your materials are gonna respect the settings that you assign, and you can see the nice little highlights on your rounded object, creating the illusion of filleting happening. All right, so this is for my metallic objects. I'm going to use these tubes. Maybe this one I just need to stretch it a bit more, maybe like this. I'm going to select this one and this one. I'm going to group them, and I'm going to actually, while I have them selected in the properties tab, I go in the materials section. I'm going to unscroll the menu. But instead of creating a new material, you don't need to create systematically every time new materials, new metallic materials. So let's say that these supporting tubes, I want them to have the same properties as my hind legs. So I just unscroll the menu and I go and find PBR R legs. So PBR, physically based rear legs. And I'm just going to select that, and it's going to apply the same material. So when I select this, you can see that in the menu here, where it's in the upper menu, I mean, you've got the title here, PBR R legs. It's the same as this one. Whereas if I select this one, you can see that the menu changes to the appropriate geometry, which is PBR front legs, basically. All right. So that's for the metallic parts. And this support here, I'm just going to make it dark color. So I'm going to use the plastic gray that I've already created from the front legs as sort of rubbery material like that to make it quite discreet. Okay, so I'm going to start adding other metallic materials. So I'm going to select, for example, here my bumpers for my armrests like this. I select this and this. I'm going to group them. I'm going to select this cover and the other side as well, and I'm going to group them. And then I'm going to select these two groups. You can also group them another time if you want, but I'm just going to leave it like that. And I'm going to select this, and I'm going to make it metallic as well. So again, you select your geometries that you want to make metallic. You go in the properties where it says material, unscroll the use layer material menu, and I'm going to use the same as my PBR R legs for rear legs. And there you have it. And this is what it looks like. Okay. Very quick. Yeah, I think that's it. And maybe this one, I'm going to select this pivot point and that pivot point. I'm going to group them as well. And I'm going to make it a dark gray metallic material. So I'm going to select these two, and I'm going to create a new material. So I'm going to go back to my material menu, unscroll this menu. I'm going to click on the plus sign. I'm going to go to physically based material. I'm going to click on metallic. Let's click on the swatch color. Let's make it a dark gray like that. The roughness, I might want to bring it up here. Now don't remember to change the title, so I don't know. I'm going to call it pivot point. pivot point, for example, and underscore M for metal. That's it. And in the display settings, is there something else I want to add? Not really, actually. I don't want, emission is for lighting up the scene. So base color, I've already changed that. So I don't need to play with these options, but just to give you as an idea, if I click on clear code, for example, okay, you see that a menu just showed up, all right? And it's the clear code settings, the properties, and you can turn it on and you can play with the different amount of clear code that you want. In this case, I don't want it, but this is how it works. So if I start adding specularity, so here's my specularity properties, and you can turn this on and play with the settings and so on. So you've got the subsurface. Subsurface is more like if you want to create a waxy looking type of material like human skin or candles. This is the type of settings that you want to play with for your material. So the subsurface. If I turn on emission, you can see here that it turns into a light source. All right, so it becomes a bright white color. But obviously I don't want these settings, so I'm just going to click on the X to remove all these properties. I don't want that. I just want to keep the basic metallic material as sort of dark gray, and that's it. Okay, so simple as that. This is done, and I'm going to start creating simple materials for the armrest, basically. Okay, so I'll see you there for the next phase. Thanks.